everyone, welcome to another video. Today is day 53 in my Cayman. Mileage is 58,662, which means I've done just about 1100 miles so far. In my last video I summarised where I was at with this car, my takeaways after the first 875 miles. It was all good, but I've still got a huge amount to learn. I've barely scratched the surface with this car yet. There's a few more things I've learned about it that I like though, that I did forget to mention in my last video. Some discussion. Before I get to that though, I just want to update you all on a couple of things. The first was concerning the dealership visit that I had last time out. That was because of a problem with the window. The switch in the door mechanism, you pull the handle, the window drops, you open the door. The switch actually in the latch that knows when the door is open wasn't working, so when the door was open, the window was popping back up again. That then meant you'd have a bit of an issue closing it because it wasn't low enough. It wasn't low enough to go back under the seal around the top. Now, I'd spoken to the dealership beforehand. When I got there, they'd ordered already the entire latch mechanism because the switch is inside that. I left it with them for an hour, I walked away and they replaced it for me, and it was all done under warranty. And the second thing is that Goodwood are pressing ahead with all their plans for this year, and they've just announced the dates for the two auto solo competitions. So I've entered both of those, one in April, one in October. Compared to last time out, I've dropped 112 horsepower, but I have gained an actual chassis. It's on a day like that when I'll find out if I really do miss that locking diff, or will the poise and agility and the short wheelbase of this thing just carve its way through those cones. Past experience shows that there's quite a lot of Porsches enter in the rear-wheel drive over 2 litre category, and I'm entering in one of the lowest powered Porsches made in the last 15 years. We'll see how I get on. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, this video is about things that I've learned. First, I want to talk about the pedals, where they are and how they feel. In summary, they're very, very good. One thing to note is the pressure required on the brake pedal. You really do have to lean on it. They've got really, really low servo assistance. It takes an awful lot more pressure to get them to work, more so than on any car I've ever owned before. You really have to get on them really hard. That firm pressure required is good. I really like that. It's really progressive and lots of feel. Then there's the pedal position, their spacing, how they are all relative to each other, and the height, particularly when they're in use. And for me, where the pedals are, how they feel, how they respond, how they all relate to each other, I have no complaints at all. I can find my way around them just fine. And the last thing I wanted to mention about this car is the throttle response. And it really confuses me that no one really talks about this. So what can I say about the throttle response then? Well, sum it up in one word: incredible. Absolutely incredible. Who's driven a normally aspirated performance car? I imagine quite a few of you haven't. You've had turbocharged motors right from the start of your motoring life. So if that's the case for you and you've never driven a sharp throttled performance car with a normally aspirated engine, then this thing has a throttle response, an immediacy to your input that you can only dream of. Comparing what this feels like to my last car, BMW's manual M140i, like every turbo car I've ever had, the BMW had a slight delay between you asking it for something with your right foot and it giving you that something back. And when it does arrive, it's always a bit soft in its delivery. It ramps up, it surges as the boost builds, but that's just how boosted motors work. With the Cayman, you get none of that delay as the intake tract pressurizes. You get none of that build of boost. It is very slightly soft, and I mean very slightly soft. It does just blunt your inputs a very, very tiny bit. But it's still better and more immediate than any of the force-fed engine cars I've owned. And lucky for me, the original owner of this car spec'd it with the Sports Chrono pack, which aside from the gimmick that is the stopwatch there, it gives you a sport mode, and sport mode does 4 things. So we'll put it in sport mode now. First thing it does is it firms up the dampers, if you've got Porsche active suspension management, that is. And then you immediately turn them back to soft. The firm damper setting is truly undrivable on the road, but I will have more on that in another video. There's a few things I want to test with it. Traction and stability control. Gives you a bit of leeway to have some fun, but I haven't really fully explored that yet to find out where it kind of kicks in and how far it lets you go. And Sport button also changes the way the rev limiter works, and here's exactly what the manual says about that. In sport mode, the RPM limiter characteristic is harder, i.e. the engine is immediately throttled when the performance limits are reached. And to demonstrate that difference, I'll now hit the limiter in second in both of those modes. So this is not sport mode. And now in sport mode. Harder limiter. They both seem very similar to me. I honestly can't tell the difference. And before anyone says it, let's talk about over-rev records, the over-rev log that the ECU holds. There are a few comments on the short video I released last night. Oh my god, over-rev, you've trashed your car, it'll be worth nothing. Well, for the, putting this politely, the uneducated among you, the rev limiter is an engine safety feature. It's designed to stop throttle-induced over-revving. My rev limiter limits at 7,200. So with what I've done, let's just assume I go to Porsche and I ask them to give me an extended warranty. Here's the different ranges of over-rev as categorised by Porsche for the 987. And from my research, range 1 and 2, there are no issues at all. They won't even ask any questions. You'd get the warranty. It's only if you hit range 3 or over that they need to check before they can accept and give you a warranty. So bouncing a car off a limiter is not the quickest thing and it's not the smartest thing to do, but doing it to explore or experiment does the car no harm whatsoever, and more importantly, according to Porsche, it does the car no harm at all. What the over-rev records and over-rev logs are meant to capture is mechanical over-revs. Say, for example, if I shifted into second at 100 miles an hour, I'd probably see 9,000 RPM. So when I do that, when I money shift into second, come back and tell me that I've damaged my car and I've over-revved it. But until then, know that you're wrong. And the fourth thing that the Sport button does, for me, is raison d'etre. It switches the throttle map. It sharpens up the throttle further still. It takes what was already good about it and it makes it razor sharp. Now they have shortened it overall. The travel is shorter. You hit 100% throttle slightly earlier in the pedal travel, but it's not that shorter pedal travel that makes it feel sharper. Here's the two maps draft by Porsche, and you can see that they've removed the softness of the standard throttle map, the dead zone at the beginning that you can really feel when you just tickle the throttle. It does feel a bit like a cable throttle really. I mean, just give it the slightest touch at 6,000 RPM. The car responds as requested, without delay, with zero hesitation. Move it a bit more, ask for 100%, and you immediately get 100% of what you've asked for in full. for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, you know, do the thumbs up, and I'll see you all